What are these people looking for that you would guide?
Novelty of experience, novelty of adventure and richness, but it had to be couched in some sense of confidence from somebody that had been there before. There is that human instinct to herd and to seek leadership. You're the adult and you're in charge, but what we want to do is yield. We want to yield our own leadership, yield our sovereignty to the expertise of others.
Hi, it's David here. This week, I'm going to take you back inside our Freedom Founders Mastermind with a presentation that I did recently, or a conversation I had with good friend, mentor, Mr. Alistair McDonald. Alistair is a very thoughtful person in looking at his life, his business, his family. I thought it would be interesting for you to have a chance to listen in on this conversation, breaking it up into two segments. Week one this week, and then next week we'll have the follow-up. This week, we'll talk a little bit about uncertainty, seeking guidance. We all want familiarity and certainty in our life, yet we are filled with voids of uncertainty today. And a lot of that comes from the fact that we simply just don't trust ourselves. We talked a little bit about risk and the fact that risk is non-negotiable. We have to deal with risk. Risk is part of our lives yet again. We want to mitigate risk. So how do we balance that with looking at new frontiers and new opportunities to live our lives in a way that perhaps we're not living today? Groupthink, yielding our sovereignty to others. It's a bad mantra to be following the herd mentality. I talk about it all the time. And this is one thing that Alistair and I, one of the many things we agree on is just staying away from that groupthink mentality. Alistair mentions a metaphor. He calls it twisting the kaleidoscope, looking at the lens and twisting it and having a whole new perspective on the opportunities ahead. And then we sum things up this week talking about a disconnect from all of the noise out there, the podcasts, the Facebooks and social media and news and whatever it is that sucks us in every week, and taking a week off, at least 1 week off every quarter, calling it the week of integration. I know you'll enjoy this episode. Catch this one and catch us back next week for the second half of my conversation with Mr. Alistair McDonald. I'm particularly excited and honored to have our next guest with us. This is a gentleman that I was blessed to, I would say introduced to. Well, like a lot of us, I'm always on the look. I'm always on the hunt. Aren't we all? Aren't we on the hunt for wisdom and experience and, really like guides? We all need them. We all need them. And I alluded to the fact last night that Alistair is someone I have, Candace and I, not just me, but Candace and I have welcomed into our lives, and somebody that I just thoroughly enjoy the conversations that we get to have. And he gifts to us. They're just wonderful. And so what you're going to get a chance this morning is to get some snippets of things that we talk about. I've got probably 5 days worth of material. We have an hour to squeeze this in. So let me give you just a little bit of background. My good friend, Alistair McDonald. In his reasonably short time here on earth, he's experienced 5 recessions, 1 national currency implosion, 3 global pricing bubbles, plus the greatest hyperinflation in history, the largest asset deflation in history, and violent political and social upheaval. As a business owner, employer, husband, dad, and sovereign entrepreneur, he's owned service businesses, he's managed money, he's invested well and badly, he's owned a dental clinic and a vet hospital, his partnerships implode, others thrive. In all this, if there's one skill that he would encourage every business owner, regardless of their industry, to learn, it's how to build, maintain, and grow a business through what he will call the complete full market cycle. He's also a black belt in jiu-jitsu, an ex-safari leader and National Geographic expedition leader. Would you please welcome my good friend, Mr. Alistair McDonald. Come up with me.
You get to pick a side.
Pick a side. Pick a side. Does this music do anything for you?
It's very soporific. Yeah.
No, but seriously, I mean, seriously, what is this?
This is Bach through Yo-Yo Ma's Eighth Movement.
We chose that just for you.
Yeah,
just,
I appreciate
just to set the mood.
This is one of my favorite pieces of music, and there's clearly some sabotage in my organization that information is being traded.
You might want to tighten things up just a touch, touch, you know.
Didn't realize that my assistant could even see my playlist. That's dangerous. It's like somebody having access to your browsing history. Which, by the way, is the best predictor of your future.
Well, that's a lot of wisdom right there. So let's start with this. As a guide, as an entrepreneur, age 18, and we'll get some of the back history in Zimbabwe, because I think there's a lot to be said. But the thing that I allude to already is that you start out early in life as an entrepreneur. Your generation's fourth generation. In Zimbabwe, your forefathers, your father, your grandfather, all entrepreneurs. So it's built into your DNA, and at age 18, you start a safari business, which means you're guiding people at a young age. I'm just curious, people that would come to you for these guides, for these expeditions, I'm certainly all kinds of people across the board, from different walks of life, and what are they looking for? Experience, change? I'm just curious, what are these people looking for that you would guide?
I think two things. The first is novelty, and the second is confidence to draft off of. So novelty of experience, novelty of adventure and richness, but it had to be couched in some sense of confidence from somebody that had been there before. And I realized that when I was very young, I was 21, and I got a contract with National Geographic to do a 6-month source-to-sea trip of the Zambezi River. And this meant that I would be going to parts of Africa, southern Malawi, the Shiri River, etc., areas that I would be guiding. If you know who Paul Theroux is one of the most famous travel writers in the world. He wrote Mosquito Coast, etc. Paul and I have now been friends for 20-something years. He was the person that was writing the article. So Paul was not only 30 years older than me, but he had more experience in parts of this area of Africa than I had. And this has been the case for me so many times in my life, where how could I possibly be qualified to guide Paul Theroux or National Geographic as a 21-year-old? And I think it's the same question we get to ask ourselves as parents, as business leaders. And I think it really comes down to a familiarity and a confidence in uncertainty. I didn't need to know everything that would possibly happen. I just needed to trust myself to navigate whatever comes up. And that ended up yielding a multi-decade friendship and a cover story for the magazine, and it was a spectacular experience. But I think that's what people are looking for, is novelty and a sense of, we talk about this all the time, staying on your own frontier. I have the same conversations with other friends, Christy, Amit, Brian, people in the room, but some sense of somebody that doesn't have to have done it before. When we went in to do this tributary section of the Shiri River, which is a tributary to the Zambezi in southern Malawi, the actual maps just had big blank areas. All we knew is the river came in here and it came out there, and the last time it had been traveled was 36 years prior. So the beauty there is I knew just as little as Paul did. And that was quite an adventure.
So we typically don't like to have big blanks on the map. do we, ladies and gentlemen? No, that's not our training, Alistair. You know that. So there's a part of us that like to live vicariously through someone like you, but we still want to be part of that adventure. And so we talk a lot about the fact that all of us have this in us where many times we just don't trust ourselves. We don't trust ourselves to make decisions. Now, having a guide who has confidence, at least confidence in realizing that you don't have to know everything, you can't know everything, but you're able to be nimble, adaptable, and iterating as you need to course. Again, taking your experience as a guide over so many years and continue to be a guide in your own frontier and helping with people, with others, what additional wisdom could you provide for, again, knowing who we are? Most of us have not lived the life you have, that kind of experience, but we still want more, and yet there's this part of us that says, yeah, but I better stay the course. I better stay with what I know or what everybody says I should do. I don't want to risk, a change that it could be better over there. It looks exciting, but I don't know. It looks better not.
Yeah, it's funny. Risk, I think, is a lot like money. It's non-negotiable. Money is non-negotiable. You'll meet somebody who'll say, hey, I just want to live on the commune and gift back to the community, and that's all wonderful, but at some point, money is not a negotiable thing. It has to be a part of your life, and I think risk is the same thing. It's funny you mentioned living, not everybody has lived my life. Hearing what you read, it's like all these recessions and disasters, and I'm like, I don't know how lucky I actually have been. I got struck by lightning when I was 19, and I was telling a friend of mine, months later, it took a while to recover from, and he said, oh, you're amazing, you're struck by lightning. He's like, "Con, you lived, you're so lucky." I'm like, I think luck probably would have not been struck by lightning. But I think that it's super important. One of the drums that I try to beat all the time, and it's so perfect. Can I just pause and just say how excited I am to be here? I'm so happy to be here with other weird people. That we get to talk about.
Somebody this morning alluded to us as a cult.
All that's missing is the language and secret handshakes. Fully deployed. We've got the language. But I say that because it's so rare to get an opportunity to kind of fall into a little pocket of society that is interested in talking about things that are kind of from the physical to the financial to the metaphysical, and that's just a pleasure for me to be here, and I have you to thank for that. It's my pleasure. Anyway, to fall on this point of trusting ourselves, there is that human instinct to herd and to seek leadership, and it's very strange to suddenly find yourself in a position. I had a very, very, very clear experience as a young man where this terrible situation was going on, and this download I got from the cosmic Google was, "You're the adult." It happened in a moment. I was being charged by a wounded leopard that had been killing livestock, and this leopard was approaching me, and that was the download. You're the adult. You're in charge. I'll never forget it. And you're the adult, and you're in charge. But what we want to do is yield. We want to yield our own leadership, yield our sovereignty to the expertise of others. And so I want to remind everybody here, as I have to remind myself, you have read more books than Socrates. You have had more experience than Aristotle. You have seen more of the world than Plato. Let's just let that percolate in our mind for a moment. These are the authorities that we yield philosophy, insight, financial wisdom to. And the point being is that the difference between us, Socrates, Aristotle, and Plato, is that we don't mine our own experience. The reason that they could provide the insights that they did, and that we don't, is all that they had was the ability to mine their own experiences, to trust themselves. And what I've found is when we do that, it's so liberating. It's so liberating. I was talking to Sean and Dave just a minute ago, and they said, "What are you going to talk about?" I said, "I have no idea." But it's not just about me, but it's about this premise is once we get to a point where we really trust ourselves, the fences just drop on possibility. And that's exactly what this experience represents.
If you enjoyed watching or learning from this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more content. If you have a question about any of my content or this specific video, just please leave a comment down below. And as always, stay focused on your freedom. I'll see you next time.